Journalists. Today we are going to start by going over some vocabulary that you're going to need to know. You've probably heard of a lot of them, but just in case there are some that we don't know, we definitely need to go over them before we start drafting articles for the school newspaper. That is, we're going to need to know what the types of the newspaper are. What are the parts? So I have put together a vocabulary slide for you, and this will tie directly into your assignment for the day. So let me just see if I can't pull this up. Okay. So we're going to look at the different parts of the newspaper. And you're going to need to know these words, and you're going to need to know what they look like. If I were to give you a newspaper, you need to know what each of the parts are. So first we have your 5 W's and H. Now I'm sure you guys have heard of the 5 W's being who, what, when, where, and why. Well, sometimes when you're in the news, it needs to be included how something happens or how something affects somebody. Okay, so those are the abbreviations that need to be answered within an article. And here is an example of when something is taking place in this article. Yes, that is just a date, but if it is not specified in the article, that's your when. Here's your where. Here's the what. Are they having a party? No, they have concerns. And then they're having discussions in Parliament as well. And then their goal is for better integration for immigrants. And there would be answers to the rest of these questions in the rest of the article, but this is just the first 2 paragraphs of this article. Your banner, you might also hear it referred to as a flag. And that's the name and the logo of the newspaper. It's usually found at the very top of the paper. It's usually going to have a unique print. It could be a different color, like on USA Today. It could have a unique font, similar to the New York Times right here. Your byline, this one is important. It's the author of the news story, but it also includes his or her title. So if an author has a particular title, they are the sports reporter or they are the lead opinion writer, that's going to be on part of their byline. And it's usually found directly under the title before the article begins. Your caption could also be referred to as a cut line, and it accompanies the photograph or an illustration that can explain who or what that image is all about. And it could be a photograph like what you see here. It could be charts, graphs. It depends on the section of the paper we're talking about. And it's usually going to be in much smaller print, maybe an italicized font, but it is always beneath or right next to the picture. Your date line. Just what it sounds like, it's the date. So it tells your location and the date of the news story. This one, Sunday, June 22nd, and I believe that's a 2009. And then your location is Washington. Okay. An editorial is going to be an opinion. It's the editor's opinion or the writer's opinion. If it's an article, it's featured on the editorial page or the opinion page, and it's management or staff, maybe a reader can write in, and you're going to express an opinion or you're going to encourage certain action to take place in the community. So here it's going to take place on the opinion page. This article says that the bridge to Minto Brown would be an asset. That's an opinion. A lot of people may think it wouldn't be an asset. So this is an opinion piece, so that makes it editorial. Your feature story. Your feature story is going to be that story or the article that isn't really recent news. It's going to be more human interest, investigative reporting. It can be historical or scientific. So I think I mentioned to the class, what about that snake that was just discovered in India? That would be a feature story. It's not news, it's scientific discovery. So that would be feature story. Human interest would be anything that someone might find interesting, but doesn't need to appeal to all the readers. Your headline is a short statement that grabs the reader's attention. It summarizes the important info in the story, and it is always found at the beginning of the story, and it's usually going to be in the very large, unique font. So this one, for example, is storm of political controversy swirls around. Okay? That tells you, what are we reading about? We're reading about politics. Okay? Your index. Now, when you think of an index in a book, it's going to be at the back of the book. It's going to be the last thing you see. Well, on a newspaper, the index is just a listing, and it's usually on the very front page. And it refers to the regular features or sections. It might list particular articles, but it's going to include your sports, your weather, your editorials, etc., any main section of the newspaper. And it's similar to your table of contents that you might have in a textbook, but on a newspaper, the index comes at the beginning, and it is going to usually be, it's always going to be on a side. This one comes on the right-hand side. Dallas Morning News, I believe, puts theirs on the left-hand side. Depends on the newspaper, but it's always on the front cover. Okay? Your jump line. Your jump line is when a story is too long and doesn't fit on that page or that column, you need a jump line to tell the reader where you're going to jump to finish the story. So you might have seen, it may say continued on page A4, and it may actually say what the title will be on that page. So this one is going to be continued at page A5, and it's going to be called Monitor. Okay? That's just your jump line. Where do I finish the story? Oh, I need to jump to page A5. Okay? Your lead. Your lead is just your first paragraph of the story. It's going to sum up that story real quick and easy, and it's going to tell the readers, here's what you're reading, and here's why it should interest you. Okay? Because when you have a thick newspaper like the Dallas Morning News, you're not going to read every single word on that newspaper. So you need that lead paragraph to hook your reader and get the reader to read your article. Okay? A news story. That's one of the articles that's going to include the key info. It's going to include your 5 W's and the H, and it's going to be about an event that is recent. It has to be recent to be news. I mean, if it happened 6 months ago, that's not news. That's yesterday's news. And it needs to be relevant to the reader's lives. Now, relevant, that's all relative. What's relevant to some people may not be relevant to others. So a news story can be considered news story if it is relevant to a majority of the people. So here we have the Wall Street Journal, and it is talking, an impeachment inquiry begins. If we're talking about an impeachment inquiry, that's my what. Who is Trump? I didn't want to get too bogged down into the little print because it's kind of hard to read that. But it needs to answer your 5 W's and your H if possible. A masthead. This one is in newspapers. It's a formal statement about the newspaper's name. Where did it come from? When did it come about? It's going to include your management and the place of publication, and it's usually going to be on that editorial section because the editorial section is all about the people. So here we have the Seattle Times, and that is an independent newspaper that was founded August 10th of 1896. And down here we have some important people for the paper. We have the vice president, and we have the executive editors. That's what your masthead should be. Photo credit. So I've got here a picture of, looks like a ceremony, and I need to know who took that picture. A photo credit tells you who photographed the image. So that's where you get your photojournalists from. And it's usually going to be written in small print under or next to the photograph, separate from the caption. It's going to be on the other side of the page than the caption. Your pull quote. That is going to be a quote from the news story that is separated or emphasized using a special font, a special color. It may have had some graphics. So you've all seen, maybe in your history books, a quote that is pulled out and the writing is done around that quote. It brings importance to that quote, okay? You also have your reviews. I have some of you that are gonna be doing book reviews for me for the newspaper. That's what a review is. It's a report that's going to evaluate. You've got restaurant reviews, book reviews, movie reviews. You can even review music or any kind of entertainment. If you have a play going on, you could have a review for that. So here we have Survivor, Island of the Idols review. Obviously, that's a review, okay? And that would go in the editorial section, probably. Okay, your quotations. It's a statement made by a person other than the author. And it's included in the story either using exact words, which is a direct quote, or it's by paraphrasing what someone said. So if you interview a teacher and you ask a bunch of questions and they give you some answers and you just sum up what they said, that's paraphrasing, and that's going to be an indirect quote. Now, if you say word for word, my teacher said this, that's a direct quote. Okay? So in this story, I see here that he said there are no guarantees in life. That's a direct quote because it says he said this. Okay? You also have your sidebar. So this is a random article. A sidebar is a brief story with a special angle that goes along with the main story. It's not part of that story, but it can tie into it to be a paired text, if you will. So here we have your main article, and then we have our sidebar. It's obviously about the same person, but it's going to be about something a little different, okay? You have a different angle. Your skybox, that is also going to be your teaser. Think of the skybox seats at American Airlines Center or at Cowboy Stadium, okay? It's going to be your short headline text or the visuals that highlight the articles within the interior of the paper, but it's always at the very top as it can go on the front page, but it'll be beneath the headline, okay? So in this paper, the Financial Times, your skybox is right below Financial Times. And I know I can see Rage in America, and I can see where it is. I know I'm going to see Open Windows, and I can see where that is. And I know I'm going to see Lucy Kellaway, and I'm going to see where that is. That's your skybox. It doesn't have to have every article, just your key articles or maybe ones that you're expecting to see, okay? So what you are going to do for your assignment today is you are going to take half of these words, which is 10, and you are going to create 3-column notes. And the directions are going to be on your classwork when it is posted. It doesn't post until Tuesday morning, but I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do that, okay? You're going to create a 3-column note in Google Doc for 10 of your vocabulary words. You're going to have 1 column for the word, 1 column for the definition, and 1 column with an example. You can copy and paste an example of the newspaper from the internet. So what you're going to do is you're going to be in your drive first, and you're going to collect New, Google Doc. So you have a blank page. Okay, first we're going to go up here, and we're going to type our name. Okay. Insert a table, and I said you needed 1 column for the word, 1 column for the definition, and 1 column for the example. That's 3 columns. And you need 11 rows. You have 10 words and then 1 row for your title. Okay, so if we have that, word, definition, example. You get to pick which 10 words you would like to use. So pick your word, then you're going to use your definition. So that's where you should have been paying close attention to this video. This video will be posted if you need to go back and review it to remind yourself of the definition. I'm not looking for a word-for-word definition. So what's the headline? The title of the story. What's the byline? The author of the article. It does not need to be word-for-word what I had, okay? When you are finished, you need to click share. And you have changed link to Millsap ISD. You'll do that first, and then you will come back over to the classroom. You'll come back over to classwork, and it will have yours will say view assignment. You will click on that, and then up here it will have an option for you to turn in, and you're going to turn in after you have attached it, okay? If you have any questions about that, please shoot me an email. You can reach me at Ellis, it's ELLIS, at misd.net. Sorry, it's millsapisd.net, and I will be here to help you guys through it, okay? All right, so best of luck, and remember, it's 10 words of your choosing, okay? Have a great day.